Hello, this is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor. Well, last night, let me tell you one thing. I'm in Las Vegas. That's where I live now. And I went outside this morning to take my dog out. And what do you think I saw? Smoke. It was so smoky out there that every time you breathe, took a breath, you could taste the smoke. It was that bad. And it's just covered the whole valley. And so it's a really smoky day. And I don't know where the fire is. I'll find out later, I suppose. So last night we had the debate, right? I didn't know what you thought of it, but let me tell you how I saw it. I saw it as a way that the candidates could tell us, and I'm talking only small business now, okay? A little bit more about what they were going to do for small business. And so what did we find out? Well, we really found out nothing. I mean, we pretty much know what Trump's ideas about the economy and the business is. So we pretty much know his stance on that. He talks about it every single day. But what we did not hear was from Kamala Harris. We did not hear anything that we could take our hands and grasp onto and say, finally, something that's going to help us. Now, she did mention that she wanted to give a $50,000 tax credit to small business. Well, what does that entail? I mean, what is the details of that 50,000? How does it affect our tax returns? Is she just giving us more um, depreciation? Is she giving us more write-off capability on payroll? Is she giving us more amortization? Is she giving us more credits in certain areas? I don't know because there's no detail to that $50,000. And what happens a lot of times, and I've seen this so often, is that when a president says, or a presidential candidate says, oh, we're going to give them $50,000, and they have no detail, there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing there that we as small business people can grasp onto and say, okay, that is good for small business. And then she talked about $25,000 for first-time home buyers, but that really doesn't do us any good because that creates more inflation, that creates more stuff going up instead of going down. So on small businesses, we got nothing last night from Kamala Harris. Zilcho, zero. If we knew what the detail of that $50,000 that she wants to give out, that's always either taxes or some kind of money stimulus or something that the Democrats give out that end up hurting America more than anything else. Now, a lot of people take advantage of these tax credits, and a good portion of them, I have hair on the side of my eyes, and I keep seeing it flicker. It's either that or I'm getting really old. But we see a lot of times that when we have these tax credits out there, it gets misused. And it really doesn't do anything for the small business person. I mean, PPP, they said, oh, that's going to be a great program. A lot of it was fraudulent filings for PPP. And then when we got to the fact that we needed to get forgiven for that PPP loan, they were not doing it. I had a client where he had two PPP loans, same information, same data. One got forgiven, the other didn't get forgiven. So I had to appeal that for several of my clients. I had to do appeals because people were out there misusing the PPP loan. Politicians were getting PPP loans. Businesses that should never have gotten PPP loans took the PPP loans and misused the funds instead of using it for the business. They got really nice cars. I tried to apply for a PPP loan and I got turned down. So the PPP loan was a disaster because of the way it was managed by the Small Business Administration and the way it was managed by the banking group that was managing the PPP loans. And then we have these child tax credits out there, and she wants to give more tax credits. But the problem is that they never talk about the individuals that should not get that tax credit. and that is individuals who are here on an illegal status. On average, a illegal alien family gets about $4,000 with that tax credit. Now, that $4,000 could go to a real American, an individual who is a citizen of the United States. But no, we're giving that money free to individual who is filing a tax return. And a lot of them file it just to get those credits and to get that money back. So we have all of these things that get thrown out there by politicians, but we really don't know what's in the detail. And the problem is Kamala Harris is really bad at the detail. And Donald Trump is kind of bad at the detail also, but at least we know in which direction he's going. Kamala Harris, we don't know. All of a sudden, she's for small business. And in the 3.5 years she's been in office, she hasn't mentioned small business or what she could do for small business during her term. So to me, I'm sitting there at the debate last night and I'm just hearing a rehash and a rehash and a rehash. And I'm going to say this because ABC presented a program or a debate that was highly biased. It was literally three individuals going against Donald Trump. Three individuals going against Donald Trump. It was so biased and so badly put together that it literally shows how the media is so corrupt. It really is, and you can no longer trust anything that's being said in the media because it's so bad. I mean, it is so biased. It is so corrupted by their own political agendas and views. So we don't really have any news anymore. We don't have any journalism anymore. What we have is just commentary after commentary, and it's gotten worse every single day. And I think that you've seen it too. I bet you that if you were to sit back and look at that, and I don't know how you're voting, and I'm not going to tell you how I'm voting. I've already made up my mind, so I don't have to listen to any more of this crap. But if you sit back and if you literally watch the debate of last night, it was really bad. It was so one-sided. It was like an attack group, an attack gang. There was a gang of three that went after Donald Trump. And that kind of tells you something is that they will do anything, excuse me, they will do anything to keep hold and grasp that power. We've seen it every single day. The commentary that comes out of the Democrats and Kamala Harris, they are so power driven, so power hungry that they will lie, they will steal, they will cheat, they will do bad legal stuff against people. If they think that you are their enemy, they will take advantage of whatever they can grasp onto to throw at you and knock you down. I'm so happy I'm not in politics. Gosh, I can't imagine myself being in politics and having to deal with this crap. I mean, it is really, really bad. So if you look at the commentary that was coming out on X yesterday and coming out on Facebook and Instagram and all these other meta, you saw a lot of negativity against the debate last night because the moderators were so biased at ABC News. And it was really biased. And we can call it as it is, bias, bias, bias. You see, when you have a news agency that is working hand in hand with a candidate and is very friendly with a candidate, you're not going to have a fair and balanced debate. And we saw that last night. I even hate to be biased. Sometimes I know that when I'm writing my vlogs and my blogs and doing a podcast like this, I know that sometimes I am biased because of the way that I feel. I try not to be, but I am because I'm this human being, and that's how we all talk about how we think politically. And I tell you, I wrote last night on Twitter. I said, I am literally politically fatigued. I am tired of it. I'm worn out on it. All I want to do is go into the voting booth and push the lever and be done with it. I'm done with it all. I believe that in this democracy, even if we get a bad president in there, we can fight hard against that president and we can get stuff done that is for the American people and not what is based politically. Because that's what's happening right now. We are basing, they are in the politics world, they are, it's all politics. It's not what is good for the American people. So what do? Well, we buckle down ourselves, we do our own due diligence, and we try to look at this with an open mind and say, okay, who is better for our nation? What policies are better for this nation? Who has a better direction for this nation? Who is fighting for our liberties? Who is fighting for our freedoms? Who is better constitutionally? So those are the questions that we have to ask. Because listen, you and I, we're sitting down and we're hiring this president. Last night was an interview, and it was a bad interview. So that means that you and I, we're going to have to do our due diligence based upon how we believe from our heart and our mind, what we feel is better for the nation, in which direction that either candidate is going to take us, which is the best direction. If we're just going to have another 4 more years of Biden Harris, maybe not so much. And that means that the burden of proof is really on Donald Trump. If he wants to lead this nation, he is going to have to be very detail oriented and focused on what needs to happen in the nation. We need to cut our costs of operations. We need to cut the size of government. We need to cut down on taxes. We have got to cut down on our debt. And that takes focus. And we've got to control our borders. You got to shut them down and ship them out. Shut them down and ship them out. But we have a lot of things that Trump has got to really focus on if he really wants to be president. Now, if Kamala Harris wants to be president, she's got to do a lot better because right now we know nothing about her. Even though we saw a debate, even though we saw an interview, we saw all this stuff, and we still know nothing about what she is thinking up here, especially when it comes to the issues of small business. And we're suffering out there. Listen, all of us who are in small business, we're suffering. And it's tough and it's hard. We are literally saying, do I have enough money to meet my payroll? Do I have enough money to meet my suppliers? Do I have enough money to meet my software providers? I mean, and the list goes on. And every single day, we are literally strategizing with the amount of money that we have. And we have now time to really focus on the next 4 years of a Biden or of a Trump administration because we don't know how they're going to go. So we have to plan it based upon how we feel and how we see things, and also sitting down with advisors and talking to them and saying, okay, what do you think is going to happen? What is the best approach for either or candidate? Because right now we don't know what's in the detail, but we do know what's in our details and in our financials and what's affecting us. We do know that. We do know that, I mean. Now, today is also 9/11. 9/11 for me was a strange day. My office was at that time was in Long Beach, California, and I was directly across the street from the federal building. And I walked into my office not knowing what had happened because it's very seldom when I'm driving to work that I listen to the radio. I do now because I learned. But I drove into my office, and when I drove in, there was an individual who was inspecting the cars. I said, well, that's strange. I've never seen that before. You know, they had the mirrors under the car and looking to see what was going on. Excuse me, because we were right directly across from the federal building. But I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea that the World Trade Center had been attacked. And then all of a sudden, I went up to my office, parked my car, went up to my office, and I was the only one there. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? And the company I was consulting to at that time was a big shipping company, container company. And I was the only one there. And I'm thinking, why is it I am the only one here? And all of a sudden, I got a knock on the door, and the police officer said, "You need to leave the building. Now, we have a bomb threat." We had 7 bomb threats that day, over and over and over again. Finally, I went home because I couldn't take it. But by then, I had learned what had happened to the Trade Center. They were taking everybody out of the building because there was a rumor that there was a plane coming towards the federal building in Long Beach. And so they wanted us all out in all of the buildings around that federal building. So I got into my car and I went home. And then I became glued. I became glued to CNN. At that time, it was just CNN. That's the only 24-hour news agency out there at that time. And I just watched it hour after hour, day after day, to see what was going on. And then we saw the collapse. I saw the collapse of the 2 buildings. And then I knew that this was really an attack on America, attack on our freedoms, attack on our liberties, attack on our nation as a whole. And on that day, all of us, our hearts were saddened by what we saw. We saw a terrorist organization, Islamic extreme terrorist organization that decided to attack the United States. And they attacked a building in New York City that was iconic. It was known as the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it was almost like a mini city. You went down below the floors, there was a whole different cities of trains and drugstores and stores and everything else was down there. But we saw those buildings collapse and we saw the lives of several thousand Americans die. And then they attacked the Pentagon. And then that plane was taken over by the people in the plane and took over the terrorists, and the plane crashed. We had event after event after event. We had the president up in the sky so that he would be safe, landing in spots that were secret. The nation was in chaos that one day because extremists decided to attack the United States. Our country, our nation, was under attack. And ever since that day, we have had alerts of terrorist activity. Just this week or last week, we had rumors of an attack planned. So it still happens every single day. There are still enemy nations out there who are extremists in the Islamic regime that want to see America destroyed. And sometimes we even see it within our nation. We see politicians who are anti-America or anti-Israel, but pro-Hamas. We're seeing it even to this day. So we as Americans, we have to take inventory of how we feel about this nation. This is still our nation. This is still our government. This is still our president. This is still our land where our Constitution is so strong. But we have politicians who are trying to destroy the courts, trying to destroy the Constitution. And this is the time that we as Americans have to stand firm and defend our liberties and our freedoms. That wasn't supposed to be that type of talk. I was just going to talk about what I experienced on that day. But that day was a traumatic experience, and I still think about it every so often throughout the week of what happened on that day. It lives within me, and it will live within me until the day that I take my last breath, because it was something that affected the lives of all Americans on one single day with 3 different planes. Well, I guess four different planes. So let's take a pause. Bow your heads, wherever you may be. Offer up a prayer for America. And offer up a prayer for your communities and the people that live beside you. And pray for the safety. And then we have to forgive one more time for all these people who are anti American. We have to forgive, but we have to stand firm and steadfast to protect our nation. That's my blog for today. Everybody go out and have a great day. I'll talk with you soon. God bless. Bye bye.